It's time to talk about X-Men 32, Gerry Duggan, Phil Noto, the definitive proof that X-Men Girlbosses do not work in X-Men whatsoever, really in comic books. This thing is an abomination. Gerry Duggan has embarrassed himself a lot over the years in the X-Men office, but this has got to be rock bottom.
Everything about this comic was amateurish. We're still supposed to be told that Orchis is this major threat. It's such an uphill climb. Yet every single panel, all they're doing is absolutely slaughtering every Orchis person that they come into contact with. There is an effort level that is required to hit this level of cringy dialogue, and Gerry Duggan managed to make it second nature. That's how bad it was.
It's so bad, Adventures in Poor Taste like it. This is a real review, and I've got to call this one out because this is a particularly beautiful thing. This is their wrap-up of their X-Men 32 review. Sword-wielding women slaughter fascists and so much more in X-Men 32 in one fell swoop. Magik's mutant gift is restored and she's reunited with two of her oldest friends, though balking not once but thrice at bringing Illyana and Kate Pryde's intimacy to the next stage. The issue as a whole is still a whole lot of fun. The pros: Jumbo's boyfriend is alive, gay rights. Magik and Shadowcat are back and fucking Orchis up. Polaris looks so good. Get in, we're killing the fascists. Quote from Emma Frost. The cons of the book: some of Emma's dialogue is a little bit too referential to her own past iconic sayings, and Kate and Illyana are just friends. When has it ever been established that there's any type of attraction between Kate and Illyana?
Apparently women aren't allowed to be friends in these weirdos' heads without them becoming scissor sisters. Shippers need to be thrown into the fucking sun. Women can't be friends without scissoring. Men can't be friends without playing hide the sausage with one another.
It was so much better when they were stuck on Tumblr doing fanfic and gross pornographic art and all that stuff. Somehow Marvel has hired them in to write and illustrate their comic books, and now the journalists out there are hiring these idiots to come in and do professional reviews of them.
We are now in 2024 where these assholes get fucking hired by people and then wonder why everybody laughs at comics journalism. There's a reason why they got rid of that fucking award at the Eisners, and you people are the reason.
We open up with a scene, and there are mutants being persecuted by Orchis. They're in their red costumes or whatever. And as you mentioned earlier, there is no struggle in this whatsoever. Basically, this entire comic book is mutants slaughtering at will and kind of laughing about it and enjoying their time doing it. And we get Emma Frost in one of the lamest panels I've ever seen, only eclipsed later in the comic book. The Phil Noto art, we do need to mention just how bad it is. But she arrives, she's in a limo, and she pulls out, and she's got those, you remember Do the Right Thing where the guy had love and hate on his hands? She's got that, but it says Hellfire, and she uses those to literally disintegrate the torso and heads and arms off of these two gentlemen and basically murders them right on the spot. Well, what she did was inspire these young mutants that were being persecuted to go out and start doing the persecuting themselves, because there is one Orchis member left over that they torture and murder themselves.
Because he was making it marginally difficult. Maybe they don't even explain that. What these Orchis guys were doing on the street, other than being difficult to teenage mutants, they have not done this story correctly. It is completely and utterly nonsensical. All of the premises of it have been completely undermined from almost page one since they did the Gala massacre. And this is just another page of them completely undermining any sort of stakes.
Well, the central premise, I believe, of Fall of X and Fall of the House of X and Rise of the Powers of 10 and what's happening here is that the mutants are so far down, Orchis is absolutely destroying them, and they have no choice but to really fight back. Hasn't been demonstrated well because, as you mentioned and I've mentioned, the mutants are just laying waste to every Orchis person we see. We have Magik, who I guess has been infected by nanites. She's going to this headquarters for Orchis that has a scientist that she thinks can help her. Kate shows up, or Kitty, and there's 2 pages of them just going through levels of buildings within this. And the scientists and probably the janitor and everything, their blood is just covering all the windows and walls as they slaughter everybody without prejudice.
They even point out the fact that what they're doing is completely against the whole idea of Krakoa, of kill no man, but they don't seem to care, and they perfectly laugh about, I don't see any quiet council here to stop me, so I'm going to do it anyway because girl power, and let's slaughter these fucking scientists. You can't simultaneously sell me on the fact that the mutants are struggling or that they are clawing their way back from almost extinction again when they just absolutely and utterly indiscriminately slaughter every amount of opposition. None of these characters that even push back against them.
Everyone they come in contact with, they disintegrate with their rings or they use weapons and they just cut their heads off, and nobody even lays a finger on them. They just murder everyone.
This is Girl Boss 101 bullshit. This is everything worse about what Gerry Duggan writes.
Yeah, this is the worst part of hiring male feminists to write your comic book that's led by 4 female characters within it. Because Polaris has to show up, and once you know it, because she does have magnetic powers, she's now the master of magnetism. She is actually going to pull the nanites out of Magik's body and get her back to working order. I think this is supposed to be kind of a cool moment, but the Phil Noto art, as bad as this story is from Gerry Duggan, really does let everything down.
It really, really does. I mean, first you have Polaris show up. Oh, she's so quirky. She still has her coffee in her hand. She just comes in, rips the nanites out of Magik. Then I guess for like a panel and a half while she's trying to smush them, it looked like, in her hands. She almost looks like she's struggling there for like a half a second before she obviously overcomes, and then a Sentinel shows up for them to also equally.
That's the problem,
dispatch.
Dude. You have this Sentinel show up, and he's clearly orders of magnitude bigger than the building that they're sitting at. You only see a sliver of his face after, I guess, he's ripped the roof off the building. And you know that this Sentinel, despite being a mutant killing machine designed specifically for that, has zero chance of ever affecting or even competing with these 3 girl boss characters, Kate Pryde, Kitty Pryde, Shadowcat, whatever you want to call her, Illyana Magik, as well as Polaris.
Not only do you know that the giant robot that is supposed to be a threat has zero chance, they have to dispatch it in the most fucking like Roadrunner sort of way where they're, oh, she's going to jump up there and put a hole in his head. And then we're going to go here and then rip this fire hydrant open, but create a portal so that the water shooting up then goes shooting right down into his head. And then he's just going to start fritzing out and explode. It was like a fucking cartoon, and not even a good one. It's a Gerry Duggan cartoon. If it wasn't so pathetic, it would be laughable.
Yeah, so the big threat obviously is dispatched in a page and a half, I believe. And then we have Emma Frost show up once again. Maybe her mutant name should be Girl Boss, because she's got the limo showing up, and she's controlling everything. She's controlling the entire battle plan and all this stuff, murdering people. And she says, "Get in, we're killing fascists." Illyana, darling, it's delightful to see you. And she does say that while they're murdering all these people, they have to do it in a fabulous manner.
I swear to God, everything about this comic was atrocious and designed to piss off anyone that's ever read or liked an X-Men comic in the past. They make it a laughing stock. It's see where we can put in our next pop culture reference. Because, we needed a Mean Girls reference in the middle of this. I think I hate Gerry Duggan more than I hate Jordan White at this point.
And we do get the return of Lockheed. I guess a lot of people were waiting for Lockheed to return, I guess, maybe?
Yeah, because apparently Lockheed was hanging out with the lighthouse keeper, a gay lighthouse keeper that they had to make a big deal about the fact that he was gay with him.
Is that what the guy was so excited about, gay rights?
I think so.
I did not know where that comment came from.
The lighthouse keeper was apparently gay. Again,
was he banging Lockheed?
No, he was banging that fat fashion designer guy, Jumbo Carnation.
Well, we're not done yet because we do get some final page reveals here. And one of the worst things is that Jonathan Hickman obviously brought Nimrod back. We had Nimrod the Greater, Nimrod the Lesser, and all that kind of stuff. And it seemed like Nimrod was going to be just this amazing threat. But we see Polaris say, Nimrod, where is he? And Nimrod is basically done at that point. There's no chance that he's able to do anything to any of these characters. Nimrod is next. And then we have Cyclops return to the X-Men series to let everyone know that Dr. Gregor, for reasons unknown, decided to join them and leave the Orcus people behind, even though these guys literally murdered her husband twice.
At no point yet have they still tried to even make an attempt to explain why she suddenly decided to switch sides in the middle of this bullshit. But fuck it, whatever. It's because the plot needed it to happen next.
I love how they had to ask Magik as well, are you ready? Yeah, she just literally slaughtered an entire building of people while she was apparently dying. She was born ready.
You people have done the worst job in human history at selling a threat, and then you wonder why nobody's bought the threat.
I would say it's very clear that Gerry Duggan just does not have what it takes to ever get over as an X-Men writer. His stuff has clearly declined over time. He's gotten worse and worse. I thought it wasn't going to get worse than Fall of the House of X. But X-Men 32 it's one of the worst X-Men comic books I've read in a long time. And I've read the Steve Orlando Somnus Mind Raper guy. I've read Lethal Legion from Charlie Jane Anders. I've read the stuff by Vita Ayala that wasn't very good. I've read the Steve Fox comic books. And I hold up this issue of X-Men from Gerry Duggan to all of them as being worse. I think it is fucking atrocious.
If I had a paper copy of this, I probably would have ripped each page out as I read it and burned it because that's how bad it was. This was abysmal. This made Tom Taylor's mustard and bigotry lines sound like goddamn Shakespeare. Everything in here is the cringiest shit you have ever heard. And the only people that actually might think that this is cool are the people that use the phrase "Yas Queen Slay" without any sense of irony.
Yeah, and the Phil Noto art does not help whatsoever.
No, I mean the one scene where this Orcus guy is or somebody was kicking in a door was quite possibly the funniest shit I have ever seen, because Phil Noto, he draws everybody with little tiny baby legs. So watching somebody kick in a door with little tiny baby legs is fucking hilarious. Everything else that followed it up was somehow just chef's kiss worse. This was abysmal art.
I don't know what to give this one. I would have to give it maybe a 0.5 out of 5, maybe 1 out of 10.
I don't know if I can even give this a rating. It's not a story and it's not a comic book. It's somebody's outline for a comic book that they claim is an actual story. It's not a story, so it can't get a rating.
Well, it's certainly not getting a recommendation.
No, it is absolutely 100% not getting a recommendation. I would recommend that any comic store owner that actually purchased this for your shelf, ask for your fucking money back. You shouldn't even want to sell this. It's that bad.
Absolutely atrocious. And I do want to point out that this is a shorter review of X-Men 32 up here on the YouTubes than we actually did when we recorded it over for the Patreon. We have the unfiltered version of this, as well as the X-Men 700 conversation yesterday, as well as a Q&A, as well as the Hot or Not podcast with Jim, as well as the Geek Fix with Aaron Sparrow, and lots of fun stuff going over on Thinking Critical Patreon. If you have not checked that out, 8 hours of brand new comic book related stuff going on every single week that you haven't heard, that is not available here on the YouTubes. Check that out in the video description. We are waiting for you with all the goods.